Hello and welcome to another rhythm video. So today we are going to be doing about dotted notes, and the sort of theory behind dotted notes starts off quite easy, and then as we get into sort of smaller note values it just becomes a little bit more confusing, and I'm going to sort of show you some practical physical exercises to put onto your instrument, but also to put onto your body, that you can use whenever you have sort of dotted rhythm elements to your music pieces that you're playing that you perhaps might be finding a little bit tricky. It's always good to come off the instrument, practice them in your whole body, and then put them back in and see how that goes. So but before we do that, there was something that we haven't mentioned when we've talked about time signatures. So the time signature for this that I'm going to be using today is 4/4, and I've said that this it means 4 beats, and then this bottom number is really frustrating because it's a code number, and you have to understand that that code number, that 4, equals a crotchet. 4 crotchet beats in a bar, or 4 tar beats in a bar, if you're sort of using the sort of Kadai vocalization for the rhythm names. So that's what that time signature means. Now that number, whilst it is a sort of code number, it's not totally random. There is a way to be able to work it out. So here we've got the rhythm tree that we had from the warm-up that we did, or actually, well, it's from one of the warm-ups that you'll be doing, and I just wanted to sort of talk about, we're used to talking about the rhythm tree in terms of beats. So this is a semi-breve and it's a 4-beat note, or you with it rhythm name it's a 4 or. We've got minims or 2 woos, which are 2-beat notes, 2 woo, 2 woo. We've got crotchets, which are tars, and they're 1-beat notes, tar, 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 tar. And we've got quavers, or TTs, to use their rhythm name, which goes T, 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 T. And those, we call those half-beat notes, because 2 quavers fit into a crotchet. So we're used to sort of thinking about this in terms of the beats, but actually they've sort of got another element to it. I keep dropping my pen lid. I'll put that down for a second. If we just count, well, the blobs, or a technical term, the heads of the notes, if we count the blobs, we've got 1 blob there for the semi-breve. We've got 2 blobs here for the minims, or the 2 woos. We've got 4 blobs here for the crotchets, or the tars, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blobs here. Okay, and if we were going with the American system, this would be a whole note, this would be a half note, these would be a quarter note, and these would be 1/8 notes. Now that is just so much more logical than semi-breve, minim, you know. But then what we do is we transfer this bottom bit of these, I suppose, fractions, and that becomes the bottom bit of our time signature. So when you originally see them go, oh, it's just like a fraction. Well, yes, but the top bit tells us the number of beats, but the bottom bit of these sort of fractions, or the number of blobs that there are in here, actually becomes your code number for the bottom bit of your time signature. So when we see a 4 at the bottom, when we've drawn a rhythm tree, there are 4 blobs to it. It's in American, it's called a quarter note. So we put a 4 at the bottom. Okay. If we were counting, if we saw a 2 at the bottom, according to our rhythm tree, the code number for 2 is for a minim. So we'd be counting in minims. It's very rare, but if you saw it, a 1 at the bottom, we would be counting in semi-breves. Less rare is seeing an 8 at the bottom, we often don't see a 4 at the top. You'll be seeing something like a 6/8 or a 9/8 or a 12/8. That's compound time, and we're going to be doing more about that another week. But so that 8 there is that we're counting in quavers. So whilst it's quite tricky to remember, you can actually work it out. Draw a rhythm tree, count the number of heads, work out the code number. I'll take away those little bits, fractions there. Okay, and that code number is the bottom number of your time signature, and it will tell you what you're counting in. Okay, there we go. So, done that bit. I can rub that off now. And today we're going to be working in 4/4. So we've got 4 crotchet beats in a bar, and we're going to be dealing with dotted rhythms. So our dotted rhythm, we're going to start with a minim first. So a minim, as we've said, is 2 beats, or a 2 is 2 beats. So we have inside a minim you can fit 1 crotchet and another crotchet. Okay, so first off, it might be worth just getting actually feeling that in your body. So if you get your feet going and you go 1, 2, 1, 2, and you actually clap with your hands, 2 woo, 2 woo, 2 woo, 2 woo. So you feel your beat with your feet, so do it with me. And then get your hands going, and 2 woo, 2 woo. Okay, you can have a go at putting that onto your violin, or your cello, and again you can get your feet going. It's quite tricky to keep your bow steady, but you go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So what we're doing there is we're doing something called subdividing. We are no, so at the moment we're just keeping the steady beat. Later on we're going to be doing some subdividing, but we're sort of dividing the minim up into its beats. So we're sort of thinking about how long it lasts, okay? So if we add a dot to our minim, it means that we have to add on half the note value onto the length of that note. So half of the original minim would be 1 of these crotchets, or half of the 2 woo would be a tar. I'm using the English sort of traditional language and the rhythm names because people are sort of more used to dealing with either. Okay, so we need to add another crotchet onto there, okay, and then we join all 3 up. Okay, so this beat then becomes a dotted minim, or some of us like to call it a 3 E E. So it goes 3 E E. So a dotted minim lasts 3 notes. Okay. We often see in a bar of 4/4, if you wanted to fill up the whole bar, we'd have a 3 E E, and then we'd have a tar or a TT or something that filled 1 beat to come with it. Okay. So if we're saying the beats of the bar, it would be 1, 2, 3, and then the tar comes on the 4. Again, this is all pretty easy, but we're going to be developing it into sort of smaller note values. So let's get the basics sorted first into our bodies, and then we'll get. So let's get our feet going again. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then we're going to get our hands. We're going to clap the rhythm. So it goes 3 E E ta. 3 E E ta, 3 E E ta. Now you'll notice I'm using the rhythm words rather than the dotted minim crotchet. Doesn't quite work. You could just count the beats of the bar and just know that you're clapping on 1 and 4. So let's get your feet going. 1, 2, and then we clap 1, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, and notice I'm marking the beats with my hands, just so that we're sort of showing. If it was a crotchet clap 2 rests, and we'd go ta, sh, sh, ta, ta. Okay, so that's just showing that it's a longer note. Okay, so it's really important to get it into our feet as well as into our hands, so that the body is feeling the beat and our hands are doing something different. Yeah, and that can take a bit of practice, that one, keeping that beat really steady. So now we're going to talk about how we're going to bow that. So we've talked about sort of having longer notes and shorter notes with our bows, and we're going to try and keep the sort of tone steady. So we don't want a 3 e ta, like a really loud note, because we're having to use a faster bow to get back to the heel of the bow. So let's say if we're on the A string, we're going to do, I'm going to just demonstrate first and then you can join in. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3. So that's a sort of medium speed of the bow. Then I want to do a ta and get back to where I started. Let's say I started just below the balance point. So 1, 2, 3. So then I'm going to very gently move over the fingerboard and have a slightly faster bow to get back. Slow bow nearer the bridge, faster note by the fingerboard. I'm exaggerating, it's not that much. You don't want to be skating all over the place, but you've got to be sort of feeling, listening to the sound, feeling, thinking about the things you're going to have to accommodate to try and get the sound as smooth as possible. So let's try it together, and we're going to get our feet going. So even cellists, if you're sitting down, you can tap your feet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, ready, steady, off we go. 1, 2, 3, ta, 1, 2, 3, ta, 1, 2, 3, ta, 1, 2, 3. Wait, now we're going to try doing an up bow. So start on an up bow, and then a down bow ta is going to be even more tempting to bash out. So we've got to really make sure we're sort of taking the weight of the bow slightly out the string, slightly lightening it as we go, and slightly going over the fingerboard just to get that sort of lighter sound. So get your feet going. 1, 2, 3, 4, ready, steady, up bow now. 1, 2, 3, ta, 1, 2, 3, ta, 1, 2, 3, ta, 1, 2, 3, ta. Now I was slightly exaggerating so that you can see what I'm doing. I probably wouldn't make that much difference if I was playing it in a piece, but it's worth sort of, while we're doing these exercises, really thinking about what it is you're having to do to try and keep that sort of phrase smooth. We might not always do a down bow and an up bow here. We might sort of hook the bow in, but today we're just going to try and sort of work out how we would do it that way. Okay, so we have done dotted minims. They're probably the simplest of our dotted rhythms, and probably the easiest to put onto our instruments. So I'm going to write, we're not doing dictation today, so I'm just going to, you can read it off the board. So I'm going to draw a line to show that that goes through those bars here. And then we're going to have another one of these, and I'm going to put it down. Where am I going to put it? I'm going to put it down here. So you don't have to copy these out today. It's a dotted minim, and it lasts for those 3 bars. Okay, so we've got 2 rhythms that we're going to add in here, and we're going to go through exactly the same process, but this time we're going to use a dotted crotchet. So this is where the idea of subdivision, dividing up the beats into smaller sections that we can sort of imagine in our head, becomes really important here. So we're going to get rid of this for the moment, and we're going to go through the same process. So we've got a crotchet or a tar, and into that tar fits 2 TTs. Remember, this is 1 beat, and these ones, each one is half a beat. Okay. So it's worth trying to get tars and TTs into your bodies, and it seems easy. Not quite as easy as it sounds. Okay, so if we get our feet going, so we go ta 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 ta, and get a nice sort of groove going, make everything nice and relaxed, and then we're going to get our hands doing the TT. So keep your feet doing the tars, and then T T T T, and the temptation will be to rush. T T T T T T T T T T T T T T. Now, I've been really musical about this. When we do quavers, we tend to slightly exaggerate, so T T T T T T. So we put a little emphasis on the first one of every pair. And actually, if you look at my beats of the bar, if we're actually doing it in 4/4, the first of every 4 groups. So if we were really sort of thinking about how we're going to, rather than just clapping mindlessly, so let's get our beats going. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, off we go, and T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T T. And immediately that just feels more musical and lively and logical. Okay, so that's putting that into our body. It's a really important step. So if you weren't getting that at the moment, you can wind the video back and go and have another go with me, or it's just something you have to do walking around and everybody's going to look at you like you're bonkers. And just see if you can put that into your body. So once you've done that, then yes, we can then put that into our instruments. So get the if we're going to sort of stay around the balance point, just so we're nice and I'm going to use an A string. You can use a different string if you prefer. And we're going to get the feet going. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to just do TTs or quavers with our bow. So 1. Keep your feet going and think about the strong beat and okay. An extra game you can play with yourself is, and it's quite good for developing finger strength. So do you notice how my knuckle here is staying my wrist is staying nice and straight, and my little finger is pulling back into my knuckle. So left hand pizzicato. You can do it further up the instrument. You can use a different finger if you'd want to. Cellists, you can. So if you pluck your top string, okay, that can keep your pulse, and then try maybe on a lower string so that you're not going to catch it. You're going to keep the TTs going with your bow. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's something you can have a go at if you're getting really good at just keeping it in your feet and on your violin. Did you stop breathing? Okay, make sure you keep breathing when you're doing an exercise like that, because there's so much going on. So just go back to the warm-up exercises, make sure you control your breath, and make sure that it's part of the exercise that you're doing. Okay, so we've been able to sort of subdivide our crotchet beats or our tar beats with quavers. Now that's really important, because that's what we need going on in our head to be able to time our dotted rhythms. So this is called, it's a very grand word, subdivision. And if we're in 4/4, it just means we're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, so we're dividing each beat into half. Okay, so So we're going to add a dot onto our crotchet, which means we have to add on half. So half of a crotchet is a quaver, and when it's on its own it looks like that. So half of a TT, half of a tar is a TT, so it all would be a T. So this is T, 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 or quaver, quaver, quaver. And so what we would do is we would join all of those up together. Okay, and so you'd have, this would last for 3 quavers or 3 TTs. So if we were thinking, if we get it on our feet again, we're going to go, let's get the crotchet beat. So ta, 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 ta. It would go T, 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 T. So I've added in an extra beat so that we can see this. So it would go. So it's 1 and 2. That's T, T, T. And then we're going to add in the extra little T on the end to make up a 2-beat pattern. So the last pattern, when we had a dotted minim, meant that we had 3 beats and then we added on the 4th beat, which filled up the bar. Now this, for the moment, I'm just going to ignore the rest of that bar. This is a 2-beat pattern. And so this dotted crotchet is T, T, T. And then we have a all joined together, and then we have the extra T on the end to make it add up to 2 beats. So again, let's just have a go at clapping it. So get your feet going. Ta, 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 and clap. T, 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 T. And if we're counting the beats, it would be 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and, okay? Now, if you want to make that more complicated, what we could do is do a bit of body percussion where the extra quaver here, we could put it somewhere else in our body. So we could put the dotted crotchet on our shoulders, we could put the quaver on our body. So let's get our feet going. Ta, ta, and then we go 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and, yeah? Now, if you're using rhythm names, the rhythm name I use for this is called a tum-tee. So it goes, oh, I can write it underneath, sorry. So it goes tum-tee. So that T is still the same as when it was a T, 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 T. So that's still got the same rhythm name, and I call this, it's a longer, so tum-tee, tum-tee, tum-tee. But if you prefer thinking 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and dividing up the beat in your head, it's totally up to you, whatever works, as long as you're sort of understanding the logic of it. All right, so that's clapping it and doing it with body percussion. Now we're going to have a go at putting out our instruments. So let's get our feet going. So choose an open string, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, 2, 2, and 1 and 2, and. Now we've got that same problem of long note, short note, trying not to get a bump. I didn't do it very well then. I was thinking about my feet. So if we break it down, it's the same as what we had before. So 1 and 2, then we need to get fast and back. 2. So fast and light over the fingerboard, and then back. 2. Now, what you might do is 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. You might slightly come off the string to sort of make it lighter if you were playing it in a piece of music. So just experiment with what you think sounds good, but we just try not to get a bump on that extra quaver. We want that to be the strong bit. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Okay, you could try it. Let's have a go at doing it the other way. Oh, no, let's not do it the other way around. Now, another challenge for you. So now remember we when we were subdividing the quavers, we were putting things onto our violins. So let's see if we can keep a beat going with our left hand pizzicato. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now we add the tum-ti rhythm with the bow. So it goes 1 and 2 and 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 okay. So again, that takes a bit of practice. But that left hand pizzicato is really good for strengthening up your hand as long as you do it in a good way. So just check with your teacher your positioning of your hand if you're doing left hand pizzicato so that it's strengthening up the back of your hand, but it's also really helping your coordination of your rhythm. Okay, so we know how to play those. We've had a go at breaking it down. So if you have these rhythms in your music and it's not working and your teacher goes, oh, for goodness sake, this is, you know, you still haven't got your dotted crotchets, come and watch this video again and do those exercises. So you're putting different bits in different bits of your body, and you're trying left hand pizzicato beat while you're making things. So you're making it really complicated away from the instrument, away from the piece of music, so that then when you can put it back into the music, it should be easier. So let's have a go. We're going to add, so these beats are going to go over 2 beats. So it goes tum and then T. So I'm going to write 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and there. And then to make it nice and easy for us to do, we're going to have ta, ta, and then here. This one, I'm going to just do a whole line of quavers or TTs. And I'm going to turn that one into. Okay, so what will happen is at some point, hopefully, as we're doing these things, you will end up playing this rhythm while I'm doing these ones, or I'm doing these ones while you're doing these ones. And actually, I'm going to take that off. So what I've done with these rhythms here is that the tars are going to keep our steady beat. That's going to help us be able to think about how we're counting this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then here we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we can sort of anchor that into our head. So we're going to go 1 and T, 1 and T. So if we were all playing together, it'd be great because we've got people keeping the subdivisions going. But actually part of the skill is being able to think 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 in your head while you're holding long notes, and that is called subdivision. Yeah, and it will really help when you're doing dotted rhythms, and a lot of the exercises we've been doing will help with that. Okay, so let's just have a go at clapping it through. We're going to do 16 bars. I'm going to do this one 4 times, this one 4 times, this one 4 times, this one 4 times, and I'm going to get the metronome on so that we can keep a steady beat. First off, we're just going to do it clapping. And if we can keep our feet going at the same time, that'd be great. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, ta. 1, 2, 3, ta. 1, 2, 3. Tum, ti, tum, ti, tum, ti, tum, ti, tum, ti, tum, ti, tum. So now we're going to make it more complicated in that I want you to think about body percussion. So if we put the dotted, we're going to put the dotted minims on our knees. We're going to clap the tars. We're going to put the dotted crotchets on our shoulders, and we're going to put the T's on our heads. Okay. So a rhythm like this would go tum, ti, tum, ti. Rhythm 3 is going to go ti, 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 ta, 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 and then we're going to do the 3s on our knees, okay? Now we're going to mix it up a bit. I didn't tell you to last time. I'm sort of assuming you understand what happens. Now I do 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these. Now I want you to, with that body percussion, pick your own combination. So you might start here and work backwards, or mix it up. Okay, remember 4 lots of each rhythm, and I'll meet you at the end. Ready, steady, off we go. Okay, how did you do? So with the body percussion, obviously you can't hear it as much, but the coordination element of that is a really good thing to sort of try out. So when you're clapping bits of your rhythms of the piece of the music that you're doing, always put it onto different parts of your body. Crotchets, quavers, minims, go to different parts of your body, and again, it's just challenging you to make it that bit harder, so when you put it onto your instrument, it's really easy. Okay, so let's get some playing done. So we're going to run this through a few times. First time we are going to use, I'm just going to do it on an open D. Okay, you can choose whatever you want to, but if that's how you want to, if you want to just start on an open string, that's fine. Second time through, we're going to do D, F sharp, and A. Okay, and again, if you want to use any of these steps earlier on and just practice it 3 times through, doing the hardest version, that's fine. And the third time through, we're going to do a pentatonic scale starting on D. So we've got D, E, F sharp, A, and B. Okay, so we're going to do it 3 times through on our instruments. I'm going to, I am going to put the metronome on just because I think it's easier for you to hear when I've got the long notes. But I will start with the D open string the first time. But as I say, you can decide what's best for you. Okay, so I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 on each. You choose your own combination and your own notes, and I will meet you at the end. Okay, join me on the open D if you want to. Ready, steady, off we go. Time through. I'm going to use D, F sharps and A. If you want to just stick on the D string, that's fine. If you want to go more complicated, that's also fine. Okay, are we ready? Ready, steady, off we go. And last time I'm going to use all of these notes. You can do the easier just D version, the D, F sharp and A version. You can use one note for each of your rhythm patterns. Try and choose a different rhythm pattern for me. I'm going through all of them 4 bars at a time. Are we ready? Last time through. Ready, steady, off we go. Stop the metronome. We've done 3 times through. You can go back and try any of those again. If we were a little bit fast for you, that's fine. You can try sort of experimenting with these ideas by yourself. But this is one of the trickiest rhythmic things that come up in the sort of standard of playing that you guys are at in your repertoire, and being able to sort of work it out yourselves, take it back to sort of body percussion and all of that sort of stuff, and really understanding the theory of how it works and how it fits into the beats is really, really important, and something that I would really encourage you to just sort of experiment with in your sort of warm-up scales, all of that sort of stuff, so that when you meet it in sight reading and pieces, it's just there and you can decode it and you totally understand how it works. So well done for sticking with me, and yeah, I will see you soon.